Hey, it's Amanda from Loops and Love Crochet here, and this video tutorial will show you how to work up these cute little Christmas tree tapestry crochet bags here with a drawstring. And this free pattern you can find on my blog, loopsandlovecrochet.com, and the blog has the full written pattern for a smaller bag size as well as one that's a little bit larger. And then this video tutorial will show you how to work up the bag from start to finish, which you can apply to whichever size of bag you're making. So in this video tutorial, I'll be working up another of the smaller size bags, but again, you can apply this video tutorial to either the small bag or the large bag because it's worked up in the exact same way, just the stitch counts and the number of rows varies just a little bit. So these bags are perfect for holding smaller gift items. The smaller one would be perfect for some treats, maybe a gift card or something really tiny. And it can also go into a stocking as a little stocking stuffer as well. And this one here is just a little bit larger. And so you can just put something that's slightly larger inside, put it under the tree or on top of a stocking or wherever you'd like. So they're super cute little way to personalize a gift here, and they actually work up quite quickly as well. The middle of the bag is worked up in the Tapestry Crochet technique for the Christmas tree here. As you can see, I have a graph which I'll be explaining to you. So let's grab our yarn and our hook and we'll get started. So this bag here is worked up from the bottom to the top, and you can see the little holes for the drawstring are formed up towards the top of the bag. And we don't need the graph quite yet to start the pattern here because we're going to work just the little base of the bag here, and then we'll start working the rounds that make the height, and I'll show you how the graph works there. Okay, so we're going to start by working a chain of 20. So I'm just going to make my slip knot on my hook here. And then we'll work our starting chain of 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then we're gonna work single crochet stitches all the way back along these chains, starting in the second chain from the hook. So not the first one, but the second one. We're just gonna work one single crochet in each stitch across. Just a few more stitches left here. Now when we get to the last stitch, this last chain here, we're going to work 2 single crochet stitches into this last chain. So here's one, and then I'm going to work a second one in that same stitch. And now we're going to turn our chain, and we're going to be working back along the other side of the chain, working 1 single crochet in each of the stitches across. And I've already worked in this one at the end. Here I've put my 2 stitches in there, so my first one is going to be right in the next stitch. And I'm going to work over my yarn tail at the same time, just so I don't have to weave it in later. Okay, just a couple more stitches here. Now when we get to the last one, so there's one more stitch to go here, the last one is going to be placed kind of in the same stitch as the one that we started at the start of the round here. So you can see there's space for one last stitch in there. And you can see all of our single crochet stitches line up with each other from the one side of the chain to the other. They're all right across from each other here. And we have 19 stitches on one side of the bag, 19 stitches on the other side of the bag, including the 2 at each end. And so you have a total of 38 stitches the full way around this little base of this bag here. And now we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round, which is just right there, and you might need to get your hook underneath those 2 loops there. And there we go. So I'm just going to pull that slip stitch nice and tight there. As you're working up your rows, if you pull your slip stitch nice and tight as well as your chain 1 that follows, that'll help keep your seam in a nice straight line and less noticeable when you're working up your bag. You can see in this one there's just a slight seam here from my joins and my chain 1s here, but if you keep those nice and tight, it's not very noticeable at all, and it's right on the side of the bag there. Okay, so this is our little bag base here. So for the next rows and all of the other rows or rounds working up the height of the bag, we're going to be working that in the back loop only. So, and that's what creates this kind of ridge on the front, because we're only working our single crochet stitches into the back loops here. And I'll show you how that works. But first of all, we're going to start with the graph here. So now that we have the bottom row of our bag base done, we're going to start working up the graph here. So I'm going to start with one more round of white for row 1 of the graph here. And each box represents 1 single crochet stitch. There are 19 stitches on this graph, so we're going to repeat this graph once on the front of the bag, and then a second time, which will be coming around the back of the bag, and that'll be our total of 38 stitches here. If you're working up the larger size of bag, there's just a different graph for that one, which is also available in the pattern on my blog as well, and it's just slightly different for the tree section there. So we're going to be following this one here today. And so we'll work one whole round of white, and then we got red, white, red, and then for the tapestry crochet part here, this is where we're going to have to worry about carrying one of our yarn colors. We're not going to do any yarn carrying for these rounds here or these ones here, so we'll just work those up as usual, but we're going to be working those in the back loops only. And your first stitch of the round is going to go into the same stitch that you did the join and the chain 1, and we're going to work in the back loops only. So if you look, there's just kind of a V, 2 loops at the top of each of my stitches. We're not going to go underneath both like we normally would. We're just going to go under the back loop and work our single crochet as normal. So 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch around. So I'll continue to work around my bag here, and then I'll show you what the color change looks like at the end of the round here. Okay, so here is that round of back loop only single crochet completed here. And you'll notice that the ends are probably starting to curl up a little bit. That's because we're starting to work the height of our bag. And you can just kind of push those down this way because you want to keep the front of your stitches facing outwards and not inwards, because then your bag would be facing inside out here. Now for the red round, the red row that comes next here, we're going to do our color change in the last stitch of the round. And I'm just going to get my red yarn ready here. So we're going to insert our single crochet or our hook into the stitch as normal, the back loop only, and we're going to complete the first half of our single crochet stitch as we normally would. And then I'm going to place my red yarn on my hook and pull that through. And I'll just pull this white end a little bit tight, and then we're going to complete our join and chain one with the red yarn, and we're going to join and chain one into the first single crochet of the round here. So we have our slip stitch, our chain one, and we're going to go here and we're going to join through both of the loops, not just the back loop only. We'll do our joins through both loops, and then we're going to pull that nice and tight there. And then pull our chain one nice and tight, and then we'll continue on working one single crochet into the back loop only of each stitch around, and we're going to work over the red yarn tail, and we're going to leave our white yarn here hanging and attached because we're going to pull that up at the end of the round again for the next color change. So we'll just work one single crochet into the back loop only, and the first stitch is always a little bit hard to get into just because we're doing our join nice and tight. And you'll just continue around with your single crochet stitches. So I'll continue around and then I'll meet you up at the other end again, and we'll switch back to our white yarn, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are all the way around with our back loop only single crochet stitches in red. And again, you can see the bag shape is starting to form here. And we just I have one last red single crochet to make at the end here, but I want to show you that color change again. And we're going to be pulling up with our white yarn that's still attached there. So I'll insert my hook into the back loop only of the last stitch, pull up a loop for the first half of my single crochet, and then I'm going to drop the red yarn and pick up the white yarn, and I'm just going to give it a little tug to make sure it's pulled tight, and then I will join, or sorry, I'll pull through my white yarn there for the last part of the single crochet, and then I'm going to join to the first single crochet of the round, which is right over here, through both loops with a slip stitch here. There we go, and then I'm going to pull my chain one nice and tight, and then we're going to continue around for the next round, which is row 3 of the graph, which is just a white single crochet row here. And again, that first stitch is a little tricky to get into that back loop only, but it'll keep our seam nice and tight too. So working single crochet stitches again all the way around in the back loop only, keeping the red yarn attached. Don't work over that red yarn because you want to keep it attached at the very end there, just so we can pull it up again for the next round. And your other yarn tails, if they're hanging down on the inside of your bag there, you can cut those as soon as you worked over a few stitches. And then you can cut them so they're not in the way. And I'll just continue the full way around here, and then I'll meet you back after the next row. So I'll finish up this row of white, and then I'll pull up this one, finish up the row of red, and then I'll finish up the one more row of white, and then we'll meet back here, and then we'll be ready to start the tree part. So we're just going to continue working in the same way that we just have been working. Okay, so I worked up a white row and a red row. I was going to work up the next white row as well, but I just wanted to show you quick as well. I made that color change to the white yarn, but since this is the last time we're going to use the red until all the way up at the top of the bag, we don't really want to keep that connected because it'll be a large yarn pull all the way up to the top of the bag. It'd be very noticeable. So we're going to work our white row and work a few stitches over the red yarn to secure it before cutting it. So just the same as usual, just back loop only single crochet stitches. And then I'm just going to work over that red yarn tail just for a little until it's secure. and then we can snip that off so it's not in the way. And then we'll be getting ready to start the tapestry crochet part with the green and the white alternating. All right, so I'll probably just work a couple more stitches over the red, and then I'll cut that red off and continue the rest of the way around, and I'll meet you back here at the other end. Okay, so here is the bottom of the bag here with the first 5 rows of the graph, or 5 rounds of the bag here. So I finished that round of white there, and I carried the red partway through and then cut it when it was secure there. And now we're ready to start with the tapestry crochet part. And for the tapestry crochet part, you can see the green carried a little bit through our white stitches. So we're going to start carrying our green yarn right at the start of this round. So we're going to start on round 6 of our bag, which is row 6 on the graph, and we have 1 green stitch right in the middle. But to keep the yarn carrying looking even, we're going to start carrying the green yarn right at the start of round 6 when we work up these 9 white single crochet stitches. And we're just going to kind of carry it, and it'll be ready to be pulled up when we need it for the color change for the stitch here, and then we'll switch back to white for the rest of the way. And we're going to be carrying the green yarn and the white yarn behind the stitches here. So when we're working with green, we're going to carry the white. When we're working with white, we're going to carry the green just for this middle section here. So row 6 has 9 stitches of white, 1 green, and then 9 stitches of white again, and then repeated again for the other side of the bag. So to start carrying our green yarn right away here, I'm just going to place it just right behind my stitches. And you don't need to leave that much of a tail because we're just securing it right now anyways. And then we're going to start working our back loop only single crochet stitches, working over top of the green yarn tail here. So there we are, we're just working just right over top of the green there. And we're working those 9 single crochet stitches in the white. And we want to keep our tension nice and snug here to hide the green yarn as much as possible. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stitches here. And we're going to be making our color changes in the last part of the last single crochet of the white. So I'm just going to pull out that 1 stitch there. And before I make my color change, I'm just going to make sure my green yarn is nice and snug behind those stitches. So I'm just giving that a tug. It's always a good idea to give the other color a little bit of a tug before you make the color change in case it wasn't carried tightly across the back. So I'm going to insert my hook into that 9th stitch, or yeah, the 9th white single crochet, pull up a loop, and then I'm going to drop my white and change to my green and pull that through, completing the single crochet. I'm just going to pull that white just a little bit. And it's just 1 single crochet in green, and I'm going to work over the white there. So my 1 single crochet stitch, working it up right to the last yarn over, and because it was only 1 single crochet stitch, I'm going to change back to the white right away, and I'll give that white yarn a little tug before I change it. There we go. So I changed back to my white, and then I'm going to continue on in the white with the next 9 stitches before I start repeating on the other side of the bag. So you can see what that looks like there. There's the start of my bottom of my tree starting, and we're just going to go all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there is the front part of the bag there. And then we're going to continue on the back side here, 9 white single crochet, 1 green, 9 white, until we get to the other end there. And when we make our color change, just make sure to pull the other color nice and tight there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up into the last yarn over. And then I'm going to pull that green nice and tight to make sure that it's carried nice and snug behind. Change to my green, make my 1 green stitch. Change back to the white. And then continue working all the way to the end in the white, carrying the green behind our stitches. And there we go, there's the last single crochet, and when we join, we'll join through both loops again. Make that join nice and tight. And the chain 1. And then we're ready to work the next round. So let's check out the graph there. And you can make sure your green yarn is carried nice and evenly. So the next row on the graph is exactly the same. We have 9 single crochet stitches in white, 1 green, 9 in white again. So we're just going to repeat that exact same thing in this next row here. So I'll do that one, and then we're doing it the exact same way, and then I'll show you the next round there that has more green stitches in it. Okay, so there's that second round of the tapestry crochet there. So I have that bottom little tree trunk done there. So now we're going to move on to row 8 on the graph, and you can see that that one has more green in it. So we're going to do 4 white single crochet stitches, and then 11 green single crochet stitches, and then 4 white single crochet stitches, and then again repeat that on the other side of the bag. So I did my join and my chain 1, and we're going to carry that green yarn again. So just 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to make sure that green yarn's nice and tight. Change color, and then I'll work those 11 stitches in green. And I'm just pulling that white yarn tight there. You want to pull it snug, but not too snug that it kind of starts misshaping your bag. So you just want to give it a gentle tug, not pull it as hard as you can. Okay, so there's the green stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm just going to pull out that last stitch because I forgot I had to do the color change. And I'm just going to make sure that white yarn is nice and tight behind the green. So I'll change color and then continue around in the white, just like we did in the past round. And I'm just going to pull that green a little snugger because I could see that I was a little bit loose there. So there we go, that's what the front of the bag looks like. So we will repeat that on the back of the bag. Okay, so there is row 8 of the graph completed on both sides of the bag here. So we're going to go on to row 9, and row 9, very similar, but we have 5 single crochet stitches in white, and then we have 9 in green, and then 5 again in white, and then repeated on the back of the bag. So we'll just continue on the full way up, exactly the same way that we've been doing in the first few rounds. And I'll continue the rest of that tapestry crochet part. And then I'll meet you up at the end of round 15 and show you what we need to do for round 16. Okay, so here we are up at the top of the tapestry crochet section. So just this middle part here with the tree. So I have my tree finished on both sides here. And I just finished the top of round 15. So now I'm gonna go on to round 16. And I've carried my green yarn this whole way underneath the white stitches and the white yarn underneath the green stitches as well. And we're up here about to start round 16, and that's just a solid white row on the graph, so it's going to be a completely white round. However, because it's still in that center tapestry crochet section, I'm going to continue to carry my green yarn just for that last round to keep it looking nice and even, because we can see a little bit of the green speckle throughout the rest of this little middle section of the bag here. So I'm going to carry it for that one last round. And then we got one round of white. And then as we can see on the graph, we have the white round, red, white, white, and then we'll start working the top part of the bag. So as you can see, white, red, and then the top of the bag section. So I'll continue on working my single crochet stitches in the back loop only and carrying my green yarn behind just for this one round. So after this white round, my green yarn will be nice and secure, and then I'll also be able to cut that too. So you're just continuing exactly how you were continuing. And then after this round, we'll be switching to our red yarn again. So I'll continue on with this round here, and then at the end of this round, I'm going to switch to red. And I'm going to complete the red, white rounds. And then once we get up to the top of the bag where the little holes are for the drawstring to pass through, I'll show you how that works out there. But otherwise, you're just working single crochet stitches in the back loop only, exactly the same as we've been doing. Okay, so I've now finished these rows at the top of the bag here. The back loop only single crochet rounds, the white, red, and then I got 2 white rounds finished here. And now we're gonna move on to working the rounds that make the holes for the drawstring to pass through. And I didn't carry my yarn for the white and the red rounds, with the exception of just for part of the last round after the last red. The white after that, since it was the last time I was going to use the red, I just worked over the yarn tail a little bit before I cut it so that I didn't have to weave in that end afterwards. And also make sure you check the written pattern if you're making the small bag size too. I added a couple extra stitches on each side of the bag here just to bring it up to a nice even number so that the drawstring holes will be placed nice and evenly around the bag. So instead of 38 stitches, it just went to 40 stitches. If you're making the large size of bag, there weren't any changes in the stitches there. So to make the holes for the drawstring, we're going to be using a combination of chain stitches and single crochet stitches. So I've done my join and my chain 1 here, and we're going to be repeating around the bag 3 single crochet stitches followed by 2 chain stitches, and we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and then 3 single crochet, chain 2, skip the next 2 stitches, single crochet 3 again, and we're going to work in the back loops again. So I'll show you what that looks like. So we're starting with 3 single crochet stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, skip the 2 stitches that are following, and then I'm going to work 3 single crochet stitches again in the next 3 following the 2 that I skipped. So 1, 2 to skip, and then working in the back loop only again, 1, 2, 3. So see how that created a nice hole there, and then we're going to be working into those chain stitches in the next round here. So I'll chain 2 again, 1, 2, skip the next 2 stitches, and then I'm working in the ones following, 3 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then chain 2 again, 1, 2, skip the next 2 stitches, and then 3 single crochet again. So you're going to repeat that the whole way around the bag here, and that'll create those holes there for the drawstring to pass through. And then I'll meet you back up on the other end here, and then I'll show you how the next round is going to work too. Okay, so we're just almost all the way around with those chain stitches and single crochet stitches, and I just wanted to show you when you end the round, you have the 3 single crochet, and then there's 2 single crochet stitches left, so those will be the 2 we skip. So we're going to chain 2 to skip those 2 stitches, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet stitch. And pull that nice and tight. And now we're going to be working again into the back loop only, but we are going to be working over top of those chain stitches as well. So I'll show you what that looks like here. So I'm going to chain 1, and then work those 3 single crochet stitches also in the back loop only. 1, 2, 3, and those are just in the top of the single crochet stitches of the previous round in the back loop only. And then in this chain 2, we're just going to insert our hook into the chain space and work 2 single crochet over the chain. And then we're going to work back loop only single crochet in the 3 single crochet stitches again. 1, 2, 3. And then in that chain 2, again, we're going to work into the chain space. 1, 2, and then continuing all the way around the top of the bag, just like that. And there we go. So once you finish around that round, we're going to work some more rounds of back loop only single crochet, and that's going to finish off your bag. So it looks like this one here. And once you get up to this point, you can weave in your yarn tail, and you can fasten off, cut your yarn, and then I'm going to show you how to make the drawstring here. Okay, so to make the drawstring, you're going to start with a starting chain, and I have my starting chain here already finished. You can check the pattern depending on the size of bag that you're making, how long the starting chain should be, and your starting chain might also vary with your crochet tension as well. So you just want to make sure you're making it long enough to go around the bag with a little bit of extra slack to tie a little knot to secure the top of the bag. So now to work the next row here, we're just going to be working into each of these chain stitches, but we're not going to work into the chain stitch as we normally would. We're going to work into the 3rd loop or the back bump of the chain. So I'm going to flip my chain over, and when you look at it, you'll see there's little bumps on the back created on the backs of the chain stitch, and we're going to be working slip stitches into each of those back bumps of the chain here. So starting in my 2nd chain from my hook, so not this one here, but the 2nd one, I'm going to flip it over and insert my hook into that back bump of the chain, and then I'm just going to do a slip stitch there. And then I'm going to do that again in every one of these back bumps of the chain. And then just slip stitch. So again, those little bumps that stick up at the back of the chain, that's where I'm inserting my hook. You can kind of see it when you look at your chain from the top. You can see where it sticks out at the back. And you're just going to insert your hook in there and then pull the loop through, creating a slip stitch. So I'll do a few more of those, and then I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so let me show you what that looks like. It's creating a nice little rope kind of string that'll be passed through those holes at the top of the bag for the drawstring. So I'll continue working those slip stitches across and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so here is my slip stitch rope here, all finished, and that's for my drawstring. So you can see I've finished those slip stitches the full way across, and then I just cut my yarn and then I secured my ends by weaving them in. And now I'm going to pass this through the top of the bag. To do that, I'm just going to start to the one to the left of the center. I'm just going to pull that one through, and then we're just going to go in and out of each of the holes around. All the way back to the other side. There we go, and then you can make sure that your ends are kind of even when you're done. And there you are. And then to tighten your bag, you'll just cinch it in there, and then you can tie a knot or a couple knots at the top, and there you go. Your bag is now complete. I hope you found this video tutorial helpful. I hope you like these little drawstring treat bags or Christmas pouches here, and I hope you enjoyed working that up. Remember to check out the blog for the free crochet pattern, loopsandlovecrochet.com, and I would love it if you followed Loops and Love Crochet on Facebook and on Instagram, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.